The sun burned high over the endless desert of planet Arkan. The sky looked pale white, and the sand reflected the light like a golden sea. Two figures moved slowly across the dunes, dragging a small hover sled loaded with digging tools, scanners, and metal crates. Their names were Ryan and Daryl, brothers who worked as salvagers on the edge of the frontier. Ryan was the older one, tall and sharp-eyed, always looking far into the horizon as if searching for something that others could not see. Daryl, younger and quieter, carried a small data pad in his hand, scanning the dunes for energy signals. They had worked together for years, digging through ruins and crashed ships to find anything of value. Life on Arkan was hard, but the desert still whispered secrets from the past, and both brothers believed one big find could change everything. Their ship, the Sand Warden, was parked a few miles away under a large tarp to protect it from the heat. The brothers had been out since dawn. Daryl's scanner beeped again, a faint echo showing deep under the sand. He stopped and frowned. "Another false reading?" Ryan asked while wiping sweat from his brow. Daryl shook his head. "No, this one is different. The signal is steady, metallic, about 50 meters down." Ryan looked at the small screen. The shape shown there was wide, almost circular. He smiled. "Could be a buried station. Or a ship. Either way, it's worth checking." They marked the spot and began setting up the dig equipment. The machine hissed and began to drill into the sand, pushing the grains aside with a deep rumbling sound. The sun slowly started to fall lower in the sky, and the desert winds picked up. After 2 hours of work, a dull metallic sound echoed from below. Ryan knelt and brushed away the last layer of sand. What appeared under it made him pause. A smooth black surface, like stone mixed with metal, lay hidden beneath centuries of dust. Strange markings ran along the edge, glowing faintly when touched. It did not look like any known material. Daryl leaned closer. "This isn't ship metal," he said. "It's something older. Maybe ancient human tech." Ryan nodded. "Maybe from the first expansion era. That was over 1,000 years ago." They kept clearing the area until a large circular hatch became visible. 2 symbols were carved on its surface. One looked like a crown with rising spikes, the other like a simpler crown made of curved lines. Between them was a groove shaped like a line of gold. Daryl traced the marks with his fingers. "Looks like it was meant for 2 keys. Or 2 people. Maybe," Ryan said, touching one of the crowns. When his palm rested against the metal, a faint vibration ran through it. The markings glowed brighter and a low hum filled the air. Daryl stepped back in alarm. "Ryan, what did you do?" "I don't know," Ryan said, staring as the hatch began to move. A circle of sand shifted around them as the ground sank. The hatch split open slowly, revealing a narrow staircase leading down into darkness. The air coming from below was cool and dry, carrying the scent of metal and age. The brothers exchanged a look. Ryan smiled first. "Well, we found something." Daryl hesitated. "It could be dangerous." "Everything valuable is," Ryan replied. He grabbed a light stick, activated it, and began to descend the stairs. The steps led deep under the dunes. The walls were covered in the same smooth black metal, decorated with golden lines that pulsed like veins of light. The deeper they went, the stronger the hum became, steady and rhythmic, almost like a heartbeat. After several minutes, they reached a large chamber that opened before them like a hidden temple. The chamber was vast and round, filled with tall pillars that stretched up into shadow. Golden light flowed through the walls, forming patterns that looked like ancient writing. At the center stood a platform surrounded by strange machines. 2 massive statues stood behind it, both human-shaped and wearing different crowns. One crown had sharp points, the other curved gently downward. Between the statues lay a large crystal sphere, glowing softly from within. Daryl's eyes widened. "What is this place?" Ryan walked toward the center, his boots echoing on the metal floor. A tomb, or maybe a vault. He reached out and touched the sphere. It was warm and tiny arcs of light danced across its surface. As he stepped back, the sphere began to rise. The golden lines on the floor brightened and a deep tone filled the air. The statue's eyes lit up. "Ryan," Daryl said, stepping back. "I think we triggered something." The chamber trembled. The sphere projected a wave of light, forming 2 figures in the air. They looked human but wore robes made of shimmering light. One figure was tall and fierce-looking, the other calm and composed. Both spoke in a language neither brother recognized. The sound echoed like distant thunder. Then, as if adjusting, the projection's voice changed to standard speech. Who enters the chamber of the Twin Kings? Ryan and Daryl froze. Daryl's voice shook. We are explorers. From the human colonies. The taller figure spoke again. Explorers. You carry the mark of our kind. Then you are children of the same blood. The second figure turned its gaze to Ryan. You awaken what was meant to sleep until worthy hands arrived. The brothers glanced at each other. Who are you? Ryan asked. We are the Twin Kings, the first figure said. Rulers of the Golden Age. Keepers of the split light. The second figure added, long ago humanity built empires among the stars. We forged wonders from gold and energy, but our hearts divided and so did our kingdom. The gold that made us strong also broke us apart. The chamber's lights pulsed as they spoke. Daryl felt the weight of their words. You mean your people destroyed themselves? The first king lowered his head. Yes, brother turned against brother. The treasure that was to unite us became the reason for our fall. The second king gestured toward the crystal sphere. This is what remains of our legacy, the split core. It holds the power to shape worlds or end them. Ryan stepped closer. Then why hide it? To protect the future from repeating the past, said the calm king. Only those who understand balance may use it. The golden light faded slightly as the figures turned to mist and vanished. The hum of the machine slowed, leaving silence. Daryl turned to his brother. We should report this to the council. This is bigger than anything we've ever found. Ryan shook his head. No. If we tell them, the corporations will send ships to dig this place apart. They'll strip it for parts and melt the gold. We can't let that happen. We can't keep it secret either, Daryl replied. You saw the power in that core. If something goes wrong, it could destroy this whole planet. Ryan stared at the sphere. Or it could save it. The Twin Kings fell because they were divided. Maybe we can do better. Daryl looked at him with concern. You think we are different from them? Ryan didn't answer. He just placed his hand over the gold line carved into the floor between the statues. It glowed softly beneath his palm. Maybe the chamber woke for a reason. The air around them began to hum again, as if the place could sense their voices. The glow spread across the floor and up the walls. The energy moved toward the entrance, reaching for the surface above. Daryl grabbed his datapad, recording every detail. We need to leave before the system fully activates. They climbed the stairs quickly, the golden light chasing them upward like a tide. When they reached the surface, the sun had set and the desert was lit by 2 moons. The sand shimmered faintly as if reflecting the light from below. The hatch sealed itself behind them, vanishing under a thin layer of dust. Ryan stood silently, staring at the dunes. This place was buried for a reason, but it's awake now. Daryl looked back at the scanner's readings. The energy level was climbing slowly. Whatever is down there, it's alive again. Ryan smiled faintly. Then so is our chance. The wind howled across the desert, carrying the faint echo of a hum from beneath the sands. The chamber of the Twin Kings had awakened after 1,000 years, and the brothers who found it had no idea that history had begun to move again. The next morning, the light of Arkan's twin suns washed over the dunes like liquid gold. The brothers' camp sat silent at the edge of the excavation site. Their ship, the Sand Warden, hummed softly as its solar panels caught the light. Inside, Ryan studied a holographic map showing the chamber's energy readings. Daryl sat nearby, checking his datapad, his face tight with worry. The night before, the desert had shaken twice. The ground had glowed faintly where the chamber was buried, and the air had pulsed with energy. Whatever they had awakened was still active beneath the sand. Ryan zoomed in on the readings. The power level is climbing again. The core isn't just turning on, it's rebuilding itself. Daryl frowned. That means it's using energy from somewhere. Maybe from the planet's crust, or from the sun's, Ryan said. Whatever it's doing, it's controlled. Look at this pattern. It's forming pulses like a heartbeat. He tapped the map and a rhythm appeared on the screen. Daryl looked at it for a long moment. You think it's alive? Ryan shrugged. Not alive like us, but maybe aware. The silence between them grew heavy. Daryl finally spoke. I think we should send a signal to the Colonial Council. We can't handle something like this alone. Ryan leaned back in his chair. And have them send a corporate dig team? You know what will happen. They'll strip everything, take the gold, and sell the tech. This place will be gone before we learn what it is. Daryl sighed. You can't protect it by hiding it. If it's dangerous, it could destroy more than the chamber. Ryan looked out the window toward the dunes. It feels different, Daryl. Like it's waiting for us. Before Daryl could answer, the ship's sensors beeped. A new signal appeared on the screen. It came from the same coordinates as the chamber, but this time it carried structure and rhythm. It wasn't random noise. It was communication. Daryl's eyes widened. It's transmitting. Ryan started decoding the signal through the ship's translator. After a few seconds, a voice began to form through static. It was deep and echoing, the same voice they had heard in the chamber. Children of humanity. The light has been restored. The kings await your return. The voice faded, replaced by the hum of the desert wind. The brothers stared at each other in silence. Ryan stood up and grabbed his helmet. I'm going back down. Daryl caught his arm. Wait, we don't even know what it means. Ryan looked determined. That's why we have to find out. Within an hour, they were back at the site. The sand had shifted again and the hatch was half buried. They cleared it and opened the stairs. The glow from below was stronger now, a soft golden light pulsing like the breath of a living creature. They descended carefully. The walls no longer looked cold and still. The golden veins along the surface were moving slowly, carrying streams of light through the metal. When they reached the chamber, it looked transformed. The statues stood taller, their eyes burning bright. The crystal sphere at the center now floated higher, spinning slowly. As they approached, the same two holographic figures appeared again. This time their forms were clearer. The one with the sharp crown looked powerful and confident. The other, with the curved crown, appeared calm and wise. Welcome, sons of the new dawn, the calm one said. You have awakened the chamber of the twin kings. Ryan stepped forward. Who built this place? Was it humans? Both figures nodded. The first king spoke. Long ago, before your colonies, our empire stretched across the stars. We were masters of creation and power. The split core you see before you was the heart of our reign. It turned light into gold and gold into energy. We called it the Eternal Forge. The calm king continued. But pride divided us. My brother sought to expand without end. I sought to preserve. We fought not with weapons but with will and belief. When we could not agree, we split the core into two halves and sealed it. One half would grant endless energy. The other half would rest until balance returned. Ryan listened with awe. So the chamber is alive because we rejoined the halves? You did not rejoin them, said the calm king. You reawakened the bond that once linked them. It senses in you the reflection of our past. Darrell frowned. Reflection? What does that mean? The fierce king looked at him. You are brothers bound by blood and purpose. Yet you disagree as we once did. The chamber sees in you what it saw in us. Darrell stepped back. We're nothing like you. The king's gaze stayed fixed on him. All brothers think the same before the choice is made. The chamber's hum deepened and the golden light on the floor began to shift, forming symbols that neither of them understood. The calm king raised his hand. The split core holds the power to rebuild what was lost, but it must be guided. The wrong hand will bring ruin again. Rian asked what would happen if it were used. The forge would awaken. Energy beyond measure would flow through your systems. Planets could bloom, ships could travel beyond stars. But if taken with greed, it would consume all who touch it. Ryan's eyes shone with wonder. This could change everything for us. The colonies, the frontier, even Earth. Darryl looked uneasy. Or destroy them. The figures began to fade again, their voices echoing softly. You must decide how the light will be used. The kings will watch and judge. Then they were gone. The hum fell quiet again. For a while, neither brother spoke. Ryan finally broke the silence. You heard them. This is power we can use to help people. We can bring life back to the outer colonies. Darryl shook his head. It's not our choice to make. You heard what they said. The wrong hand could bring ruin. Ryan walked closer to the core. The air around it shimmered. Maybe it just needs the right guidance. He reached out, but Darryl grabbed his wrist. Don't touch it. We don't know how it reacts. Rian met his brother's eyes. We've been scavenging junk all our lives, Darrell. For once, we've found something real. Something that can change everything. Darrell's voice was calm but firm. Change is not always good. Ryan pulled his arm free. You sound just like the calm king. And you sound like the other one, Darryl said quietly. Ryan turned away, looking at the golden light that pulsed through the floor. Maybe that's why we were chosen. They climbed back to the surface as night approached. The sky had turned violet, and the stars burned bright above the dunes. Darrell packed the equipment in silence while Ryan stood looking toward the horizon. After some time, Darrell spoke again. If we don't contact the council, someone else will find this place. The signal it sent was strong. Anyone scanning this region will notice it. Ryan nodded slowly. Then we have to move fast. We need to learn how the chamber works before others get here. Darrell frowned. You're talking like you want to control it. I want to understand it, Ryan said. That's all. But deep inside, Darrell could sense the fire in his brother's voice. It was the same fire that had burned in the fierce king's tone. The same fire that once destroyed an empire. The next few days passed in tense silence. They returned to the chamber each morning, studying its structure and energy patterns. The core responded to Ryan's presence more than Darrell's. Whenever Ryan touched the golden lines, the machines hummed brighter. When Darrell tried, nothing happened. It was as if the chamber had chosen which brother it favored. One night, Darrell woke to a sound coming from outside. He stepped out of the ship and saw Ryan standing at the dig site, the golden light glowing faintly around him. The hatch was open again and the air vibrated with energy. Ryan, Darrell called. What are you doing? Ryan turned, his eyes reflecting the golden glow. It's trying to show me something. Stop. You don't know what it's doing to you. It's safe, Ryan said. I can feel it. It's guiding me. Darrell ran to him and grabbed his arm. Listen to yourself. You sound like you're under its control. Ryan shook his head. No, I'm in control. This is our chance to bring humanity back to its greatness. The light around them grew stronger. For a moment, Darrell saw the faint shapes of the two kings standing behind Ryan. One looked proud, the other sorrowful. Ryan, Darrell said, his voice steady. Remember what they said. The last time brothers fought over this, their world fell apart. Ryan looked at him with conflicted eyes. Then we'll do it right this time. The light pulsed once more and the ground trembled beneath their feet. The chamber was not just awake now. It was listening. Above them, the desert winds howled, and in the distance, a ship's signal blinked faintly on the horizon. Someone else had noticed the golden energy under the sands of Arkan. The brothers' secret was no longer safe. The chamber of the twin kings had begun to call others. The golden dawn spread across the desert of Arkan, painting the dunes with soft light. The wind carried fine dust that shimmered like glass powder in the air. Inside the camp, the brothers sat at opposite sides of the sand warden's small cabin. The silence between them felt heavy. The machine's hum was the only sound. For days they had studied the chamber, and the difference between them had grown wider. Ryan was filled with restless energy. Every moment he spent near the split core made him feel stronger, as if the chamber recognized him. Darrell, however, felt uneasy. The power in that place seemed to reach for Ryan, not him, and that made him fear what was happening. Darrell broke the silence first. The signal from the chamber has spread beyond this sector. The council will detect it soon. Ryan looked up from his map. Then we need to move faster. If the chamber has chosen us, we should understand how to control it before they arrive. Darrell shook his head. You talk as if it belongs to us. Ryan's eyes flashed with determination. We found it. We awakened it. That has to mean something. It means responsibility, Darrell replied quietly. Not ownership, Ryan stood up. You always think small. You're afraid of what humans can do. This chamber could bring power back to every lost colony. It could rebuild ships, heal dying worlds, feed millions. Isn't that worth the risk? Power without wisdom always ends the same way, Darrell said. You saw what the Twin Kings said. Their greed destroyed them. Do you really want us to repeat their mistake? Ryan turned away and stared out the window at the dunes. Maybe their mistake was fear. Maybe they were too afraid to finish what they started. Darrell closed his datapad and stood. You're not listening to me anymore. Ryan did not reply. He was already thinking about what he planned to do next. Later that afternoon, Ryan took the sand rover and went alone toward the chamber. The suns were setting and long shadows stretched across the desert. The golden light beneath the dunes glowed faintly, guiding him like a path. When he reached the hatch, he placed his hand on the surface. It opened for him instantly, as if waiting. Inside, the air was cool and heavy. The chamber felt alive, breathing softly in rhythm with the golden pulse on the floor. As Ryan walked down, the statues of the Twin Kings watched him. Their eyes glowed brighter. He stopped before the split core. The crystal sphere turned slowly, floating in the air like a captured star. When he reached out, the light wrapped around his hand. He did not pull away this time. The calm king's voice echoed through the chamber. You return alone. Ryan looked up at the hologram. My brother is afraid, but I am not. I want to learn what this power can do. The fierce king appeared beside his twin. You wish to command the light? I wish to understand it, Ryan said. To use it for good. The calm king studied him. Every ruler once said the same. What makes you different? Ryan raised his chin. Because I have seen what weakness costs. Our colonies are dying while the rich world sits safe. If I can use this to save them, I will. The fierce king's voice grew stronger. Then you will learn. But the chamber does not obey easily. You must prove your balance. The golden lines on the floor began to shift, forming a circle around Ryan. The light rose like mist, wrapping him in warmth. For a moment he saw visions of distant places. Ruined cities, broken ships, hungry faces. He felt their cries for help. Then he saw himself standing among stars, leading fleets of shining vessels. It felt real, powerful, right? When the light faded, the chamber grew silent again. The fierce king smiled faintly. The core accepts your spirit. Ryan's breathing was quick. What do I do now? Guide the light, the calm king said. But remember, power shared wrongly brings darkness. Ryan nodded, though part of him no longer cared for warnings. He wanted to see how far this could go. Back at camp, Darrell waited, pacing near the ship. The storm winds had started to rise again. When Ryan finally returned, his eyes glowed faintly with golden light. Darrell saw it at once. What happened to you? Darrell asked. Ryan smiled calmly. I saw the truth. The chamber is a gift. It's not dangerous if used the right way. Darrell stared at him. The right way according to who? You? The chamber responds to me, Ryan said. It wants to help. It showed me visions. Humanity can rise again. Darrell's stomach turned. You sound like one of those old kings now. You think you can lead everyone. Ryan's smile faded. If I have to, I will. Someone has to. They argued deep into the night. Neither brother convinced the other. In the end, Darrell stormed out of the cabin and stood under the stars, staring toward the horizon. In the far distance, he saw small flashes of light. They were not stars. Ships were descending through the upper sky. The next morning, the sound of engines filled the air. 3 ships landed near the dunes, their hulls bearing the mark of Solartech, one of the biggest corporations in the human colonies. Men and women in gray suits and armor stepped out, carrying scanners and weapons. Ryan and Darrell stood together at the camp when the team approached. The leader, a tall woman with a smooth voice, greeted them politely. I'm Captain Rhea of Solartech Exploration. We received your signal. I assume you're the ones who discovered the site. Darrell opened his mouth to speak, but Ryan stepped forward first. Yes, we found it. But this site is under our protection. It's dangerous, Captain Rhea smiled. Dangerous and valuable, no doubt. Don't worry. We're not here to steal. We're here to help secure it. Darrell didn't believe her. You'll take everything, melt it down, and sell it like all the other ruins. She shrugged. We follow orders, not rumors. The council has already authorized us to investigate. Ryan's jaw tightened. You're not going near that chamber. Rhea gave a short laugh. Then you can explain that to the council when they arrive. For now, step aside. When she turned to signal her team, Ryan drew his sidearm. You're not going down there. The soldiers raised their rifles instantly. Darrell stepped between them. Stop this. Ryan, please. Captain Rhea stared at him calmly. Put the weapon down, Salvager. You don't want to start something you can't finish. Ryan lowered the gun slowly, but his eyes burned with anger. The soldiers began to unload equipment. Darrell could see the pain in his brother's face. Ryan walked away toward the dunes, fists clenched. That night, under the light of the moons, Ryan sat near the hatch of the chamber, watching the corporate team set up lights and scanners. The glow from their machines covered the sand like a cold silver web. He looked down at the golden glow under the surface and whispered, They'll destroy everything. The fierce king's voice echoed faintly in his mind. Then stop them. Ryan closed his eyes. He could feel the hum of the split core under the sand, like a call waiting for his answer. Inside the ship, Darrell watched the camp from a distance. He saw Ryan standing by the hatch and felt a chill. Something had changed in him. The golden light under his skin looked brighter, almost alive. Darrell reached for his communicator and recorded a message for the council. This is Darrell of Arkan Outpost. We have found something powerful under the dunes. If you receive this, send help. I think my brother is in danger. I think we all are. By morning, the sand around the hatch began to vibrate. The corporate team rushed toward it, shouting orders. Captain Rhea ordered her soldiers to secure the area. But before they could start, the ground cracked open, and a wave of golden light burst upward. The sand rose like a storm, spinning around them in glowing circles. Rian stood at the center, his hands raised. The split core had responded to him. The energy flowed from the ground through his body, lighting the entire desert. The soldiers stumbled back, their equipment failing. Captain Rhea screamed for retreat. Darrell ran forward through the storm. Rand, stop.
You'll kill us all.
Ryan turned, his eyes shining like molten metal. I can control it. I know what I'm doing. The light spread farther, rising like a tower toward the sky. For a moment it looked beautiful, a golden beacon glowing over the desert. Then the ground shook and the chamber's hum grew louder. The statues of the twin kings appeared above the storm, projected in pure light. The calm king's voice echoed. Balance is breaking, the fierce king's voice thundered. Power must be chosen, not taken. The energy flared again and Ryan fell to his knees. Darrell reached him and pulled him back. The golden light faded slowly, leaving the desert silent once more. The soldiers watched from a distance, afraid to approach. Rian looked weak, his hands trembling. I saw everything, he whispered. The kings, the empire, the fall. It's all happening again. Darrell helped him stand. Then we have to stop it before it's too late. Far above, new ships appeared in the sky, their lights flashing as they descended. More were coming. The secret of the chamber was no longer theirs, and between the brothers, the line that divided them had grown clearer than ever. The morning on Arkan came with a strange stillness. The sky, usually bright and cloudless, now carried a dusty haze that dimmed the sunlight. Ryan stood outside the chamber entrance, staring at the horizon where golden dunes met the rising storm. The air smelled of heat and metal. He could sense that something was coming, something that would decide the fate of everything they had found. Darrell stood a few steps away, checking the locks on the chamber doors. His hands trembled slightly, though his face showed calm. They are coming, he said quietly. The scanners picked up motion. At least 2 ships, Rian nodded. The corporations, he replied. They must have followed our signal. I warned you we should have destroyed it after our first scan. Darrell did not answer. His eyes stayed on the dunes. The sound of engines began to echo faintly in the distance. He turned toward his brother. It is not too late to seal the chamber. We can bury it again and leave this place. No one will believe our story without proof. Ryan shook his head. And let them take everything? This chamber holds power that could bring back lost colonies. It can help humanity rise again. We cannot just hide it. Darrell looked away. You sound like the old kings in the hologram, he said. They also believed they were saving their people when they destroyed their world. The argument ended when a bright flare streaked across the sky. The rival salvager ships landed near the dunes, throwing up waves of sand. Armed explorers stepped out, their armor reflecting the sunlight. They carried scanning drones and plasma rifles. Ryan ran inside the chamber and activated the defense gates. The metallic doors closed halfway, leaving a narrow entrance. We hold this place, he said. If they want it, they will have to fight for it. Darrell followed, his mind heavy with worry. Inside the chamber, the golden walls glowed faintly, reacting to the rising tension. The holograms of the twin kings appeared again, flickering with distortion. Their voices blended into a strange harmony. Brothers, said the first king. The pattern repeats. The cycle continues, said the second. Greed seeks the gold once more. Ryan tried to ignore them. He set up the power shields near the core room. Darrell, however, stared at the holograms with unease. The faces of the kings now looked almost human, their expressions showing pain. It felt as if they could feel the emotions of the brothers. Outside, a voice shouted through a speaker. This is Captain Vale of the Arkan Syndicate. You are trespassing on corporate property. Hand over the relics and we will let you live. Ryan laughed bitterly. They call it corporate property now, he said. They have not even touched the sand. Before Darrell could reply, the chamber shook with the first blast. Sand poured from cracks in the ceiling. The attackers had begun their assault. Ryan fired back through the narrow opening, his plasma bolts lighting up the dust-filled air. The smell of burning metal spread through the chamber. The twin kings' holograms grew brighter, their voices overlapping with the sounds of battle. Brothers must choose. Unity or ruin, Darrell covered his ears. Make them stop, he shouted. They are driving us mad. Ryan continued firing. Ignore them. Focus on defense. As the battle raged outside, Ryan noticed that the golden panels on the floor were starting to shift. Lines of light crawled across the metal, forming symbols that pulsed in rhythm with his heartbeat. The chamber seemed alive, responding to their emotions. Darrell watched in alarm. It is reacting to you, he said. Stop fighting. You are feeding it with your anger. Ryan looked down at his glowing hands. The energy from the chamber was flowing into him, filling him with strength. Maybe this is what the kings wanted, he said. Maybe they chose us to finish what they started. Darrell stepped back. No, Ryan, they destroyed their world. Do not become like them. Another explosion shook the entrance. A group of enemy soldiers broke through, firing into the chamber. Ryan and Darrell ducked behind a golden pillar and returned fire. The sound of plasma bolts filled the air, echoing through the ancient structure. When the dust cleared, several intruders lay motionless. The rest retreated outside to regroup. Ryan turned toward the control console near the core. The golden sphere at the center was now spinning faster, its light growing stronger. We cannot let them take it, Ryan said. If they reach this core, they will control its power. Darrell grabbed his arm. Then we destroy it, Ryan froze. Destroy it? Yes, Darrell said firmly. It is the only way to stop them. This power cannot belong to anyone. It should die here. Ryan's eyes burned with disbelief. You would erase everything we found? I would save what is left of us, Darrell replied. The chamber is waking. It will not stop until it finds balance. You saw the holograms. The gold divides, brothers. I will not let it divide us again. But Ryan had already turned toward the console. He began typing commands, trying to stabilize the core. I can control it, he said. I can make it help us, Darrell's voice broke. You are wrong. The kings thought the same thing. As he spoke, the golden walls rippled like water. The merged hologram of the twin kings appeared in front of them, their crowns now glowing as one. The voice that spoke was deep and sorrowful. Two paths. One choice. The gold unites or consumes. What will you be, sons of men? The chamber started to hum. The ground shook beneath their feet. Outside, lightning struck the sand, turning it into glass. The attackers began to flee, realizing the planet itself was changing. Rian shouted over the noise. I can stop the overload if I reroute the core energy. Help me, Darrell. But Darrell did not move. He walked toward the central control ring, his steps steady and sure. No, Ryan, you will not save it. I will end it. Ryan ran after him, but the merged hologram blocked his path. Let him choose, the voice said. Balance must return. Darrell reached the control panel and pressed the override switch. Alarms blared. The chamber's light turned from gold to white. The energy pulse grew stronger, shaking the entire ruin. Ryan forced his way past the hologram and grabbed his brother's arm. Darrell, stop. You will kill us both. Darrell looked into his brother's eyes. Maybe that is the price. Ryan stared at him in shock, then pulled away. No. There must be another way. He rushed to another console and tried to reverse the sequence. The system responded slowly, its symbols shifting across the screen. The Twin Kings hologram spoke again. Two hearts, one fate. Choose. The brothers shouted at each other as the chamber roared around them. Golden light filled every corner, and the air felt heavy with heat and memory. Finally, Ryan made his choice. He shut down his console and ran to Darrell. He placed his hand on the same control switch. If this ends, it ends with both of us, he said. Darrell looked at him, tears forming in his eyes. Then we ended together. The chamber's light reached its peak. The walls melted into pure energy. The sound grew until it was impossible to hear anything else. The Twin Kings' voices faded into a whisper. Balance restored. The explosion that followed was silent, like the breath of a dying star. A wave of golden energy spread across the desert, turning the dunes into a sea of glass. The rival ships vanished in the blast. The chamber collapsed into the ground, sealing its secret once more. When the light faded, the planet was quiet. The storm passed, leaving behind a landscape of smooth crystal. No trace of the brothers remained, only a faint glow deep beneath the glass. Far away, in the orbiting stations above Arkan, sensors picked up a new signal. A beacon pulsed weakly in space, carrying a simple message. The gold was split between brothers, but their choice made it whole again. The legend of the Twin Kings had repeated itself, but this time it ended in peace. Months had passed since the collapse of the chamber beneath the Arkan dunes. The desert had changed. The sand that once shifted freely now lay fused into smooth golden glass, reflecting the twin suns with a strange shimmer. The world seemed silent, as if it had taken a deep breath after the storm of energy that had risen and fallen. Ryan and Daryl were gone. No one had seen them since that day, and the few explorers who had survived the corporate attacks could only tell stories of the golden light that had risen into the sky. Some claimed the brothers had been consumed by the chamber's power. Others whispered that they had ascended with the Twin Kings, becoming part of the ancient legacy they had discovered. In a small colony orbiting a nearby planet, news of the event reached the council. Scientists and leaders debated endlessly over the readings from Arkan, trying to understand what had happened. Energy patterns far beyond anything known to humanity had pulsed across the dunes, leaving traces in satellites and scanners. But no one could find the source. The chamber had vanished, yet in the desert, a faint golden glow pulsed beneath the glass dunes. It was subtle, almost like a heartbeat, waiting and watching. Some explorers said that if you looked closely, you could see shapes moving beneath the surface, like shadows of two figures walking side by side, far away. In a small hidden station, Daryl's voice spoke through a recording. He had left a message in the system, intended for any human who might discover it. "We found something ancient," the voice said, calm but heavy with emotion. "The chamber was powerful, but it was not meant for one person alone. Its light divides if misused, but it can unite if guided with care. Remember this, the gold is not wealth. It is responsibility. Choose wisely. Do not repeat the mistakes of the past." The recording ended, but the message remained. It was a warning and a hope. Humanity listened, slowly understanding the meaning. The Twin Kings had fallen because of greed and division, but the brothers had survived in some form, leaving a legacy for those willing to learn. In the desert, Ryan and Daryl walked beneath the golden sky. They were not bound by time as before. Somehow they had become part of the chamber's memory. Their spirits merged with its energy. They could see the dunes from above and below at the same time. The light of the split core flowed around them, calm and warm. Ryan spoke first. "We did it, Daryl. The chamber did not destroy us." Daryl nodded. "It was our choice, brother. We chose to protect, not control." Ryan smiled faintly. "I thought we would argue forever. I thought our pride would end it all." Daryl shook his head. "Pride is only dangerous if you let it rule. We learned from the Twin Kings not just their power, but their mistakes." They moved across the golden dunes, watching how the glass reflected the twin suns. Each reflection carried a tiny shimmer of light, like the heartbeat of the chamber still alive beneath the surface. "Do you think humans will understand our warning?" Ryan asked. Daryl paused. "Some will. Others will try to take the power anyway. But at least we left a message. At least we reminded them that the choice is theirs." Ryan looked down at the horizon. "I wonder if this is the start of something new. A future where humans do not repeat the old wars. A future where colonies can rise without destruction." Daryl's gaze followed his brother's. "It is possible. The light beneath Arkan still waits. It will respond to those who are worthy." Below in the desert sands, faint ripples moved beneath the glass surface. Golden veins pulsed with energy, invisible to those who did not know where to look. The split core, the chamber of the Twin Kings, was still alive in a hidden form. It waited for humanity to prove that it could use its power with wisdom and balance. In one distant colony, a young researcher named Lara studied the signal left by the brothers. She traced it to the orbiting satellites, then to the desert of Arkan. Her eyes widened as she saw the energy readings. "This is unlike anything we have ever seen," she whispered to her assistant. "It is alive, intelligent." Aware, her assistant frowned. "Are you saying it's conscious?" Lara nodded. "Yes, and it seems to be waiting for someone to guide it. Maybe the brothers left a path for humanity. Maybe they are still protecting it." Across the universe, rumors of the Golden Chamber spread slowly. Explorers, scientists, and historians spoke of it with awe. The story of the Twin Kings became more than a legend. It became a lesson in unity and responsibility, in the dangers of division and in the potential of human courage when guided by wisdom. Back on Arkan, Ryan and Daryl walked side by side. The golden light wrapped around them, calm and gentle. They could feel the memories of the past, the rise and fall of the ancient empire. They could feel the hope of the future, the chance to guide humanity toward something greater. I feel their presence, Ryan said softly. The Twin Kings are part of us now, Daryl smiled. And we are part of them. But we are also ourselves. That is the difference. We learned balance. They could not. Ryan looked toward the horizon. The dunes stretched endlessly, shining with golden light. Do you think we will ever return to the colonies? Daryl shrugged. Perhaps not in the same way, but we can guide those who come after. The chamber gave us knowledge, not just power. That is enough. The golden energy beneath the glass pulsed again, stronger this time. It seemed to answer the brothers' thoughts, wrapping them in warmth. It was alive, yet patient. It would wait for humanity to prove itself worthy. In the cities above Arkan, communication signals began to change. People began to hear stories of the brothers' journey, of the chamber and of the golden light that could heal worlds. Some dismissed it as myth, others studied it with hope. The story of Rian and Darrell spread quietly, like a whisper that carried the weight of history and the promise of a better future. One day, explorers would return to Arkan, following the faint pulse beneath the glass dunes. The golden veins would guide them if their hearts were pure and their minds balanced. The split core had survived, not as a weapon, but as a teacher. And somewhere in the hidden energy of the chamber, the spirits of Ryan and Darrell walked together. They were free, yet bound to their responsibility. They had protected humanity's chance for the future, just as the Twin Kings had once hoped to do. The desert wind carried their story across the dunes. The sands reflected the suns, the glass shimmered with golden light, and the chamber beneath remained alive, waiting for those who could learn its lesson. The legacy of the Twin Kings had changed, not through conquest or greed, but through the courage and unity of two brothers. Humanity had been reminded that true power is not measured in gold or machines, but in the choices of those who carry it. As the sun set, casting long golden shadows across the dunes, the light beneath Arkan pulsed faintly, steady and eternal. It was a promise, a memory, and a warning all at once. The chamber had chosen its keepers, and they had chosen wisely. Ryan looked at Daryl. We did it, he said quietly. Daryl nodded. We kept the light alive, and now it waits for those who can use it well. They turned toward the horizon, their figures glowing softly in the golden light. Together they walked into the future, invisible to those above, yet present in every pulse of the chamber's heart. The chamber of the Twin Kings had closed its doors, but its spirit endured. The gold that once divided empires had been united by brothers, and the story of humanity, guided by wisdom, was only beginning.